Um, the thoughts, my thoughts on the redesigns for 2013-14. To me, I'm okay with them. I mean, true, not everybody's going to be happy with the characters having a change in look and a change to look and all that. But again, you know, it's not uncommon in any kind of media when I look at it. You know, you take a look at two of the most popular, for example, you take a look at the two most popular sitcoms of the 90s and early 2000s, mostly the 90s, if you will. And that's The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air and Family Matters. And you take a look, basically, for like Fresh Prince, the final seasons, I think the final 2 seasons or something like that, and the mother, I think her name's Vivian or something like that. The actress that portrayed her left, the original actress that portrayed her left the show, and in came a new actress. That's basically, to me, the equivalent of a redesign, because when this new actress showed up, even if you may have read it online or you read it in the tabloids or whatever, you know, that to me is kind of like the equivalent of a redesign. You know, you may not like the choice, she may not look anything like the original, but hey, you know, if she's willing, but hey, you know, after a while you'll probably get, but it's like, you know, just give her a chance and maybe you'll get used to her. And a lot of people did. A lot of people actually got used to her and they liked it. The same could be said for Family Matters. You know, I remember vividly. I remember you know, I remember vividly the last season, and this has been talked about a lot. The last season, there was even before the last season, there was some kind of dispute or something. I'm not really sure. And the original actress that played Harriet had left. She had left the show, and a new actress was brought in. And just like with the Fresh Prince, when people saw this new actress, they're like, "This girl looks nothing like Harriet. This girl looks too young. She's nothing like the Harriet before." But even though it was a season, even though it was one season or so, after a while, fans got used to her. They got used to the fact that, okay, this is Harriet. She just doesn't look like the original that we had seen since the beginning. And those, to me, are like prime examples of what a redesign is like. You take out the old design, it's like you're taking out the original actor or actress and replacing them with a new actor or actress. It's kind of like, for example, the Batman films. You know, Michael Keaton was Batman for Batman and Batman Returns. When we got to Forever, you know, all of a sudden it's Val Kilmer that's playing Batman and Bruce Wayne. And then after Val Kilmer, it was George Clooney. You know, and even though you had one guy remain as the same actor, you know, and even though you had one person, the one actor remain constant throughout all 4 of those films, which was the Alfred character. And of course you had Chris O'Donnell remain on for the 2 films of Forever and Batman and Robin. It basically, to me, was kind of that equivalent. You know, it's basically like that. It's when you change something out. It's like, again, the equivalent of taking an actor, an actress that's established in a role for so long and replacing them with somebody else. And in animation, it's the same way. Animation-wise, you know, you have one of the best examples I could think of is Wild West Cowboys of Moo Mesa. I remember, you know, you had this one character called Calamity Kate, and in the first season she kind of had like a tomboyish look. You know, she was female, but she was tomboyish. You saw it in the intro for both seasons. But as soon as you got to the second season, they gave her more of a feminine look. And I think that's what threw a lot of people off, was, wait a minute, this is Calamity Kate? You know, she looks different. And it was all basically because they redesigned the character. And even though it was one season, they took an established design for the character and said, okay, we're going to change it to look more feminine. And another good example, real good example, would be the Ninja Turtles. Since about 87 or something like that, they had one look, one constant look, very childlike, very kid-friendly and all that. 1994 comes around, that all changes. 94 comes around, they take on a more, as it's dubbed, red sky look. They take on a more darker, more mature look, basically for those red sky seasons, as they were dubbed. So to me, looking at the redesigns of the characters of Sally and Rotor and Bunny and Antoine and Nicole and several others, it's basically just in a sense that equivalent. It's like, even though we may not like it because you're taking an established look and switching it, to me it's more like, it's basically that equivalent of, hey, you took the actor that did a good job in this role, the established actor, and now you're replacing them with someone different. But then after a while, you get used to that new actor or actress in that role. So, to me, that's basically what it is. And again, like I said, good examples are Calamity Kate in Wild West Cowboys of Moo Mesa, and the Ninja Turtles when it came to the final seasons, the Red Sky seasons, if you will, seasons 8, 9, and 10 on CBS. That's basically what it's the equivalent of. That's basically what it's the equivalent of to me. And hey, you want to speak of Sonic? Let's talk about season 2. After the first season, you took some of the established characters like Rotor and Antron. You redesigned them. You took Sally, and remember, she was different in the pilot. She was pink, reddish brown hair, and then all of a sudden, the episode after that, she's completely all brown. She's in the Sally design we know of. And then after that, second season comes around, she's got a vest and boots, and she's got pupils on her eyes. Later on, and her skin's colored darker. Same with Bunny. Bunny's skin's colored darker. And then later on, like around, and Blast of the Past Part 1, she gets pupils put in her eyes. So basically, even Sonic with Sat AM had something like this happen in the second season. So it's no big difference. It's no big difference. It's not uncommon. But I can understand, again, why fans would be upset about it. So, but to me, honestly, I have nothing really against the redesigns. I think they're okay. I think it still shows that the characters are who they are. It's just like, I think what Ian Flynn said, and this is not trying to kiss up to the guy. This is basically stating what he said. It's just the fact that they've been updated for a new season, for a new year, for a new generation. It's kind of like with the Ninja Turtles on Nickelodeon. It still gets a mixed reaction from a lot of longtime fans. But they've mainly been redesigned for this new generation. Same with April O'Neil. Here she is, instead of being a reporter or a scientist or whatever, she's been redesigned into a teenager. Go figure. But anyway, though, I have nothing really against the redesigns. I think they're okay, and as long as the characters remain who they are, it's fine with me. Honestly, my opinion on what I believe the aftermath will be is, from what we have seen recently with the cover previews for 257, that one, if you will, both the, I guess you could say, the official one and the Viant one. From what I could tell, it seems that just by the way the covers are being presented, as well as the solicits, if you will, it looks like the freedom fighters are being portrayed more on the action side of things than ever before. I'm not saying they weren't a team of action, they weren't an action team. But basically, when you look at the variant cover of 257, and then you kind of show that in comparison to the spread cover for 257, which is in CGI, it kind of gives you that idea that it looks like they're trying to turn the Freedom Fighters into the next action team, if you will, of comics, of Archie comics. And I think that's a good, honestly, I think that's kind of a, honestly, I think that's kind of a good idea, everybody's always saying, well, the team's not always, because, people will look at the Freedom Fighters and, the Freedom Fighters have been in fights, they've been in action, they've fought enemies and all that, hand to hand and all that. But the way it's being described, the way it's being shown, it's almost like this team's going to be more action and more like, more on the, it's going to be more like they're going to be more in the action than they ever have been. Let's put it that way. They'll be more in the action than they ever have been. And to me, I think that's good. Especially with the way the story's being described. I mean, basically the world is tearing itself apart because it's still trying to readjust to the timelines. Station Square apparently is going to implode or something like that. And then you got Eggman either willing to save the day or use this new power of his. I mean, to me, I have to say that the Aftermath looks like it's going to live up to a lot of the hype, potentially live up to a lot of the hype it's being given, because of the fact that literally you have a team here. I mean, because literally you have this now revised version of the team that's more action related than they ever have been. So I really think the potential for the Aftermath of CTC, as it's being dubbed, has the potential to be good. I mean, when you take a look at the variant covers and the solicits, hold on for a second. When you take a look at the solicits and everything, it's like, how could you not think it won't be good? How can you not think it won't be something that I guess will improve on the image that the comics have been given in recent years? And potentially it has that chance. So to me, the Aftermath of CTC look like they have the potential to be good. The thing with fans, I believe, having mixed reactions to the redesigns is, you got half a fan base, you got half of the fan base that is okay with it, okay with it, and, basically in agreement with you. They like Ian Flynn, or they like Archie comics, or whatever. They like the direction that the comic has gone. They're practically in agreement that it's a redesign that's long overdue. It's like answering the first question. We have, I guess you can call them redesigns, if you will, with almost any kind of media. Like I said, you take a look at shows like Family Matters and Fresh Prince, and the mom and the mother figure, in both shows, the actresses that portrayed the mother figure in both shows changed. The Family Matters one changed for the last season due to, I think, a dispute or something. And it wasn't, I think, the third to last, second or third, it was something around. It was basically between 94 and between the 94 season 95, 94 season into the last season in 96, where we had the mother on Fresh Prince, the aunt, if you will, had actresses changed as well. And, you know, it did, and I will admit, there's no doubt it probably caught people off guard that didn't know this was going to happen. And they're like, well, wait a minute, this is not, like with Family Matters in the last season, they're like, wait a minute, that's not Harriet. Or in Fresh Prince, around this, I don't know what was the third or second to last season or whatever, the final 3 seasons, I guess you could say, people would look and go like, that's not Vivian. But yet it was the character Vivian. It was just portrayed by a different actress. Same with Harriet. Last season, hey, that's not Harriet, but it was portrayed by a different actor. It's like, hey, that's the character, that is Harriet, that's the character Harriet, it's just a different actress. And it took a while for the people to get used to these new actresses, but it happened. You know, it's just these kind of things that you're thinking, well, what happened? Where did this person, why did this happen? Why did this happen? You know, and, you know, again, also you take a look at, let's say, one of my favorite Saturday morning shows that I saw was Cowboys Moo Mesa. And when I saw that, you know, you take a look at a character like Calamity, and in the first season she's very tomboyish. You could see it. You know, she is a girl. She does get feminine at times, but she's very tomboyish, and she keeps that tomboyishness and everything into the second season. But here's the difference with Calamity's character in the second season: she gets redesigned. She gets a complete makeover. It's a totally different character. And, you know, if you're a fan of the show, yeah, it took you by surprise, but after a while, you know, you got used to it. You know, same with the Ninja Turtles, you know. From basically 87 to about 93, they had the same design, just day in, episode after episode after episode. And then 94 to 96 came around, and they had darker designs in color and everything that sort of resembled what you saw in the live action films. So it's, you know, it's not the first, and again, it's, you know, it's something that when first presented, it catches people off guard. It catches them off guard. It makes them go like, whoa. You know, like, well, what the heck was, you know, that about? Why did they change it? And, you know, it was a change that apparently I guess some fans have been wanting to see for a while. So, you know, it's not the first time. I mean, even Sonic himself, the Saturday morning cartoon, had suffered the same deal. You know, not suffered, but dealt with the same deal. Second season, you know, first season, the first episode, the pilot episode, characters were colored slightly differently, and fans didn't know what to make of it. Fans did know what to make of it because they'd seen it in the comics. But they'd not only seen it in the comics. Hold on for a second. Sorry about that. But like I said, it's not just in the comics. And it didn't really catch, I'm sure, well, because it was shown last, it did catch some fans by surprise, but it didn't really catch a lot by surprise. Alright, so, because it's like, oh, they're doing, because at first night you're thinking, oh, they're doing a comic book, a special episode based around, it's, designed similarly to what you see in the comics. Only later on did we find out it was the pilot. And then you take a look at the pilot and then you compare it to the episodes that came after. There's redesigns there. You take a look at the second season. Same thing, redesigns. So some of the characters, coloring and all that. So it's not the first time the Sonic franchise had dealt with that, with these characters. I think basically what it is it's not just, I think the reason for the mixed reaction is because you're basically taking, it's like, okay, you could tweak and add on certain things here and there to the characters, to the original designs, and that's fine. Longer hair, you want to give them a cowgirl outfit or something like that, that's fine. But basically now, in the eyes of some, you're just basically taking that all away and saying, hey, look, let's give them gloves, let's change up the hairstyles, let's give an iconic character, let's make an iconic character fully clothed, and it's just kind of stuff like that they just have a mixed reaction about. So, my thoughts on it is, if they want to have a mixed reaction, this fan base wants to be split and have a mixed reaction, that's their opinion. That's their right. But, for me, like I said like I answered with the first question, I really don't have a problem with it. My thoughts on Mobius no longer being allowed in the comics, in other words, no longer being used to refer to the planet by name as. My thoughts on not being able to use the word Mobius anymore. Ian Flynn not being able to use it. Anybody that comes after him not being able to use it. Tracy. To me, honestly, I think it's stupid. I mean, here you have a name for a planet that pretty much had been established since the beginning of the franchise itself. Had pretty much been established in the Saturday morning cartoon series, in the syndicated series that came out the same year, in the Underground series, which came out the same year as Sonic Adventure, in which supposedly, with Sonic Adventure, Mobius, the planet was no longer referred to as Mobius, yet you had Sonic Underground still referring to it as that. So, to me, it's stupid. I mean, I don't really understand what the decision would be. I mean, yes, we pretty much got an indication with the ending of 124 and into 125. We pretty much got the indication that in the story, in the continuity, if you will, at that time, that Mobius and Earth were one and the same. So, to me, I think it's just ridiculous. I really do. I don't see any reason as to why Mobius has to be taken out of the context of the continuity. It doesn't make any sense to me. It doesn't make any sense from what anybody else has said. I mean, even a guy that goes by the name of Mixed Fan, who strongly supports Ian Flynn and all that, even he's upset. I mean, it's one thing, for a lot of fans to put the blame on Ian Flynn for some of the things that's gone on, to put the blame on Archie Comics as well. But to me, if you're really going to blame anybody for this, for any of the changes, the most obvious hint or revelation has just been dropped in front of you. I mean, again, what's the point? What's the big deal? I mean, I understand that Sega wants to incorporate the storylines to be more like their games, to be more in conjunction with their games. I get that. I understand that. But to me, I think it's just stupid. There's no reason for it. I mean, honestly, if they were going to do this, they should have done it when they did the Sonic Adventure adaptation. That's when they should have done it. That's when they should have done it. They should have done it when they did the Sonic Adventure adaptation. When they did that full-length thing when Ken Penders was still on board, they should have done it then. And right then and there, they should have done it then. But they didn't. And from that time period, even past 225 and 230, and well into 247, and all the universe arcs and all that, everything had been referred, the planet had always been referred to as Mobius, the beings as Mobians. So, what's the point? What's the point of changing it all of a sudden? Not allowing people not to use it. And to be honest, the way Ian Flynn probably responded, I don't know if maybe he was tired, or he was just being sarcastic, or something. Remember, Ben Bates jokingly sarcastic that Sally was still cyborg, yet that's not really been indicated yet, that's not been talked about. So I don't know if he was tired, being sarcastic, or what. I mean, I just don't understand. So, but to me, either that or somebody hacked his account. I don't know. But to me, either way, I don't, kind of recommend him having, I don't appreciate him having that kind of an attitude towards a fan just trying to ask a question. But I understand if maybe he was tired, he's got a lot on his mind. But again, it should have been more professional if it was him. Because you never know, maybe his thing was hacked, we don't know. But still, to me, I think overall it's a dumb decision by Sega and anybody else that was in agreement with it, because everybody's pretty much made it clear. Those that don't like what's happened so far during Ian's run, and those that do, have pretty much all come together and said, hey, no matter what, we're still going to look at the planet as being Mobius, and that's it. Nobody can tell us differently. So, to me, I think it's a stupid idea, and maybe, hopefully, Sega will realize the mistake they made. Hopefully.
Do I think Sega is to blame for some of the comics' shortcomings or loopholes, or whatever you want to call it? I guess I would have to say yes in many ways, or if not some ways. I mean, I understand Sonic is, their character. He's their mascot. He's their bread and butter, if you will. I understand that. I totally get that and understand that. I understand he's like the bread and butter. He's what puts food on the table at times. So I kind of understand why they stick their nose in there constantly. Application. But again, I understand why they stick their nose in there constantly. At times when again, like I said, I can understand why they do it when they don't necessarily need to, but what do we, But again, like I was saying, I kind of understand. I understand, like I said, why they do it, because like I said, he's the mascot, he's the bread and butter, he sometimes puts food on the table. But, I can also understand one, they do stick their nose into the comic, as I was been trying to say here, and sometimes it's not the best, it's not the best idea, it's like, okay, we understand he's your mascot, we understand he's your bread and butter, he's all this, he's all that. But you need to let the people that do the comic book on him do the comic book. You need to let them write what they feel is going to be a good story, not just for them to write, but for the subscribers, the readers, the fans to enjoy. So, do I think Sega is responsible for some of the comic shortcomings and loopholes? Yeah, I'd have to say they need to really share a lot of the blame, if anything. I understand they're not totally alone in the blame. Archie Comics, you could put the blame on. Ian Flynn, if you feel like he's responsible too, you could put the blame on. But I think Sega, since it is a mascot, is, kind of like the one that you need to look at and say, hey, you're the guys that, you're the guys that you're the guys that's basically, not letting the comic be a comic book. It's supposed to be different, as many fans have pointed out from the game. So, do I think they're responsible for the comic shortcomings? Yeah, in a sense, I do think they need to share the blame, if not most of it. But yeah, I do. I think the Sonic comics will last for a while. If they're giving Archie a good amount of money, and the same with Sega, if they're giving both sides a good chunk of money in sales, I definitely see it lasting for a while. The subscriptions, obviously are going to help them out too, and sales of graphic novels and stuff, because, people like to be retrospective. I do kind of see the comics lasting for a while. If there's any issue that it might be the final issue, like the final issue before I cancel it, if there's any issue that would be the final issue, like the cancelization issue, if you will, I'd have to say it'd be a major anniversary issue. That's the only way I can see the comic coming to an end. I don't see the comic ending any sooner than that. I don't see the comic dying out sooner than that, so I'd have to say it'd be an anniversary issue. If anything, we just celebrated 250 issues about 4 months ago, so I'd say, if anything, it'd be, I'd say if it was to last until its final issue, I'd say its final issue would be 500. I think that's the goal. That's the goal of any comic book out there, to do 500 issues, at least to get there and surpass that. And I think they want to do that. I really do. I think they want to surpass, or at least get to 500 issues. That's my thought process on it. But I think as long as the finances come in, as long as they're making some good money off the subscriptions, the sales of the in-store sales of the comics, and the sales of the graphic novels and stuff, whether it's through the sites, either it's online or it's in stores. The sales of the graphic novels, the super magazines, the archives, the digests, and all that. As long as They're still selling well, mostly due to fans liking the retrospective of it, of the stories that are involved. I don't see the comic ending anytime soon. I mean, like I say, the latest, I think if it was to be canceled at any time, would be around the 500th issue, if that was to happen. The earliest, if anything was to go wrong, if anything was to just blow up in the face, I'd say the last issue at the earliest would be 275. And that's not for another 2 years. So, but I don't think that's going to happen either, because if they got plans for Sonic, especially 2 years from now being his 25th anniversary, I don't think they're going to cancel the comic anytime soon. And I think it's just going to hopefully get better. So that's about it.
Do I think the next writer after Ian, if there is one, will change things or keep things as they are? Well, you see, that's a good question. I think a lot of people have is yay or nay on it. I can't really say who the next writer would be, or if that next writer, if there is one, if they would keep things as they are, they change things up. We do know that Ian's not the only writer on the staff. There's Tracy Yardlin and I think several other people that work on the book, and so I can't really say yay or nay if there is going to be a next writer, and if they're going to change things up or keep things the same. I mean, when you take a look at a lot of the changes that have happened, a lot of the mandates, if you will, that have come down, and things like that, it's almost like you know that it's almost like you feel that whoever comes in next is going to be the kind of writer that will go with the flow, that whatever mandates are either given or removed, that they'll go with it without no questions. But if there is another writer that comes after Ian, I have a feeling that he or she is going to be kind of like a writer of both that goes both ways. I feel he or she, whoever it may be, will be the kind of writer that will say, hey, I want to change things up a little bit, want to do this, I want to do that, but also on the other hand say, but on the other hand is willing to compromise and be like, yeah, I understand that there are these things I have to follow, these mandates, these directions, but I would like to kind of incorporate that along with some of the changes. So, to me, I believe whoever the next writer is, if there is one, he or she is probably going to be one of compromise. Be like, hey, I want change, I want to do this, but I'm also willing to follow this so I can get that done. So, again, I don't know if there will be another writer, but again, whoever he or she is, I believe will be a writer of compromise. Do I honestly think Red Star, Archie's superhero division, is better fit for Sonic? Well, that's kind of up in the air. I mean, Sonic's part of their Archie Action Hour, and it's targeted more towards kids. They're basically part of Archie's Adventure series. What's ever left of that, if you will. The part of that, but to me, do I think honestly that the Red Circle division of Archie Comics, the superhero division of comics, could be better suited? Well, I guess if you wanted, my honest guess would be if they wanted to take it to another level with Sonic and make him, how do you put it, more edgier. I mean, for example, you take a look at the upcoming Shadows Fall arc in Sonic Universe, and to me, that kind of states that it's possible Red Circle Comics could be the better fit for them. But then again, when you take a look at what they're coming out with this month and going to be doing for an ongoing series, which is Afterlife with Archie, it's like they're doing basically Archie Comics is kind of getting a piece of that zombie pie that's been going around lately. You know, with things like World War Z, The Walking Dead. World War Z and The Walking Dead and whatever other movies out there that have done that. So, to me, again, if they wanted to be a lot darker and a lot more dramatic, a lot more darker and a little bit more mature, I mean, you take a look at something like this, and you say to yourself, well, if they're willing to make a collage, a collage out of the Countdown to Chaos covers like that, then yeah, it's. To me, I guess you could say the Red Circle Comics could be a good fit if they wanted to go a little darker. Shadows Fall is a good example of that, but I don't really know. I mean, I think Red Circle would be a great, a good mold, a good fit for it, basically, good mold and fit for it. But honestly, I don't know. Archie Comics, like I said, if they're willing to start doing this Afterlife with Archie zombie series, I don't know what to say at times. I don't know exactly where to go. Well, when it comes to a question like that, but if I'm if I'm the publishers at Archie, and I really want to get people to look at my Red Circle division, I might attempt to put Sonic in there someday, especially considering how mature the stories could get. But again, it's totally up in the air. But do I think they would be a good fit for them? Do I think they'd be a good place for the Sonic comics? Honestly, yeah, I think so. But again, it would all depend on Archie Comics if they wanted to decide, hey, let's put Sonic on the Red Circle and see what happens. But again, I think it would be mostly because they'd want to have a more matured version of the comics. That's the only way, in my opinion, that I see them putting Sonic, as a part of the Red Circle comics division, the superhero comics division. That's the only way I see it. So, but that's my answer to that. What do I think the legacy of the comics will be? The Sonic comics will be after it's all said and done. Well, I think honestly the legacy of the comics are that they're going to go down as the longest running comic book based on any franchise, video game or otherwise. I know that. It's going to go down as one of those, or as that kind of comic. It's got that legacy. But I think it's also going to be the kind of comic that its legacy is going to be defined basically by how it basically will be defined by what brought it to the dance. So, to me, I think the legacy is going to be one mainly of, I hate to say this, but I think one of controversy.
It had its good moments, it had its bad moments, it had its like, we're not, what the blank, we don't know what's going on here, and what the blank's going on here moments. So, I think that's what its legacy is going to be. It's going to be one of controversy, of good, which will be a very controversial legacy. And that's the way I look at it. And honestly, again, I'm a fan. I still read the comics. I recently got my issue. I recently got issue 254 today in the mail. So again, it's going to be one of, I believe it's going to be one of very controversial moments, good and bad, and what the blank moments. So that's all I'm going to say on it, and that's all I'm going to say.